Welcome one, welcome all to this Ferrari GT3 track guide for Laguna Seca. Now, Laguna Seca is not particularly my favourite track in the world, but that's not the reason why this track guide is late. Unfortunately, I've been pretty sick, so if I sound a bit funny, that'd be why. There might be a few edit cuts here and there where I'm coughing my guts up, so I do apologise for that, but it is what it is, unfortunately. I've done my best and I've tried. Right, now this lap is a 1:22.5. I did do a 22.3, but it was a bit ragged, and I don't think it's the best to show you, really. So that's why I've gone with the slightly slower one. Now, coming down into the Andretti hairpin first. Pretty tricky to pick out your braking point. You're going to pick that 4. Now, the thing is that you don't have to stay right on the track because we can't use this wider bit here. This is actually kind of concrete. It kind of looks like a bit like the sand, but it's actually the concrete. So we can use that. Let's have a look where we are. So as we see, we're kind of on the concrete, and that's fine. I think some people might even use a bit more, but off tracks can be a little bit harsh around here. Now, there's a few ways to do this corner. It's not like a one way or sort of thing. You can go very narrow, okay? And you have to be really, really patient on the throttle on the way out. And it's probably slightly quicker to do it that way. So if you like to do it that way, then fine. But I always find I get on the throttle too early, too aggressively, and then I have to then come off and then come back on, and it just costs me a lot of time. So actually not hitting that first apex, instead concentrating on the second apex, I find I can get on the throttle quicker. You lose a bit of time on the way in, but you make it all back on the way out. So here, bleeding off. Don't quite get that first apex. But again, that's kind of fine. Then we're kind of on the throttle midway round. It just opens up the corner a little bit. So again, balancing the throttle. I'm going to find out the best time. When the best time to get on it is, and it's just a feel thing, really. So now we have to get right back across to the other side of the track. Don't be too lazy here. It's, you sort of think, well, I'll just cut this corner a bit, and, that'll save a bit of time, won't it? But in reality, you need your car to be pointing pretty straight. So here we are, and the 2 is a good marker here. Okay. So I'm coming in, and I could probably be a little bit closer. Yeah, I haven't really taken as much as I could do. I could be a little bit closer here. But, that's okay. All right. As I say, I'm not very confident around here for some reason. I don't know particularly why, but, 225 should be fine. Right. So we're trading in here, and it's important to get the turning point right. So you kind of want to come off this curb, follow the white line. Again, could probably be a little bit better here. Anyway, trading. Yeah, so a tiny bit of brake. It has to be a small bit. I'm trying to get as close to the curb as possible. And then on the throttle. So as we see, I'm on the throttle before I get to the curb. And that's the same with a lot of corners here, okay? So on the throttle, nice and early. Try not to be too snappy with the throttle. A lot of corners will need a bit of progressive throttle. And here, again, the same thing. And we've got to use this curb. Remember, like Jerez turn 1, you've got to use everything it gives you. It makes a massive difference to that. Okay, so again, we're running the curb, and again, we're trying to get on throttle as early as we can. I find sometimes, though, you get on the throttle a tiny bit too early, and you end up drifting wide. Again, just for some reason, this track I struggle with. I think, yeah, this is fine, and then I end up running wide for some reason. But is what it is, okay? But I'm trading. Again, you just want a tiny bit of brake. The difference between a tiny bit of brake and just drifting, cruising into the corner with, no throttle or brake is pretty massive, okay? So you have to make sure you've got just a touch of brake. It will help the car rotate a lot, okay? And then, again, on the throttle before we get to the red curb. And again, we use as much as we can. I could have carried more speed through there because I've essentially driven this out here. The car should be pushing me out right to the edge, but judging it is tricky, okay? you know, like, it's not an easy thing to judge by any sort of imagination. Right, coming on to here, you probably need to brake a little bit earlier than what you think. It's definitely better here to not brake too hard and late. So you don't want to be like, right, I'm going to stamp on the brakes as late as possible. Like, this is definitely a corner where getting on the brakes a little bit earlier, setting the car up nicely, and getting on the throttle as early as possible is the way to do this corner. Okay, so we're on the throttle. So as we pass 3, the throttle, turning it in. It's quite a late apex I make here. Sometimes the car will get a little bit loose, and you can kind of fire it in, and it just grips up really nice. That didn't really happen this time. I've kind of slid it out a little bit. Got a bit of, sort of understeer, but again, on throttle before the red curve. And we try and hook this inside line. This is really important. It kind of cambers quite a lot here. So you really need to get it. You could maybe come a little bit wider sometimes, but you have to get this inside bit. In the car, before you can push out wide. Okay, come up to one of the hardest corners on the track. You kind of want to, you're braking back to 2. You can change up to 5th and back down to 4th if you want. I tend to keep it to 4th gear. Tapping the brake and just trying to get it through and carrying as much speed as we can. It's really important to be on the throttle as early as possible here. So I'm a little bit late for what I like. You know, I would like to have got the car rotated a bit sooner and be kind of on the throttle here and being a bit closer to the red curb. The problem is if you hit that red curb, you're dead. And if you carry a bit too much speed in, then you're just going to drift off really wide and lose loads of time. So it's a very hard corner. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes. The more times you do the corner, the more practice you get, the more feel you get for it, the more speed you'll be able to carry through. Okay, it's just one of those corners. You just got to practice. There's no magic formula. There's nothing that the pros do. There's anything different here. They can just judge the speed. They know what sort of grip they can have. They know how much speed they can carry through, and they'll just nail it every time. Okay, that wasn't 100% nailed, but it was okay. Right, so up the hill, and now we're up to Corker Street, which I don't find as hard as the previous corner, to be honest. And you're probably not going to lose a ridiculous amount of time here, but you have to brake before the 3, I would say. Okay, and braking uphill, so we can brake quite hard. But as we get to the top, we then have to sort of be very careful. Okay, so I've got quite a lot of brake on, and really with this new ABS model, you can get away with that now. And I found I was doing this lap after lap, braking very hard at the top here for some reason, but I mean, it seems to work. Just make sure you get that first bit. You can easily get an off track here. I did a lot of times in practice where you just, really, I think even like 2 wheels on here, because of the way the car bounces, it kind of like lifts the wheels off and then it off tracks you. So be careful there. And then the next thing to be careful around is on exit. We cannot go full throttle because the rear tyres will spin up and you'll just lose time. Okay, so we're progressing the throttle and we're not going full throttle. You see, and I think I've got a tiny bit of wheel spin probably. The traction control has just kicked in, maybe. Can't really see it there. But so I've just come off the throttle a little bit and just bouncing until you feel it grip up. You do not need to go fully wide here. You can come about mid-track, it's fine. And coming down to the next corner, which is also a very hard corner. So it's a very hard sequence of corners here. Again, you don't need to go all the way wide because it gets a bit dirty here and you'll probably just drift straight off. So 4th gear, and I'd recommend holding 4th gear through here. Some people might change down to 3rd if it helps you rotate the car a little bit more. I'm not dead against it, but I would still say 4th gear. And we're just, again, trailing the tiniest amount of brake. Now the car gets very sensitive through here, too much brake, and you're going to be spinning round, getting on throttle too early, and you could be understeering wide. Speed control is very important on this track. So we want to get on the power as soon as possible, and this is definitely one where you're way before the red curve. I'm coming back on the throttle here. Okay, so we're definitely not trailing to the apex here. We are on the throttle pretty early. That's exit. And the thing is, like, in an absolute on it, ragged to the maximum lap, you'd carry for even more, but it's just so risky. So in theory, I could get on the throttle even earlier here. But the problem is, when you do go really wide, you're flirting with danger, and you need to bring the car back all the way across as well, which is unsettles the car for the next corner. So don't worry too much if you don't hit that exit. And then here again, we want to kind of run the white bit. Again, I probably don't take as much of the curb as I could do. This is a hard brake. And again, we can carry fourth, third's not end of the world here. But let's carry fourth. Didn't quite make the exit, the apex. But it's quite cambered, that corner, so you kind of get away with it. Now we're down to the last corner. So we're looking for the 2 marker, really. Just before. Yeah, so as I kind of get to it, I'm braking nice and hard. And get away with sort of like all the way up to 80, 90%. And it's just all about knowing the right time to turn in. Again, just a bit of kind of practice, really. But you kind of want to probably where the curb ends is a good marker. And then it's just a case of just training. And this is one where you'll probably be a bit later because it's a very tight corner. So you'll be on the throttle a bit later than the other corners. So there you go. And again, not full throttle. The Ferrari is a car that always likes to come round. In other GT3s, you might get away with it. In the Ferrari, you won't. And then it's just the run to the line. Nice and straight. Going to the line. Now, in terms of tyre prep, if you're doing qualifying and you want the absolute best tyre prep, the first lap is definitely not the lap to do it. So the second lap will be quicker, but it'll only be quicker if you've looked after the tyres. So in an absolutely ideal world, if you're comfortable with just having the one flying lap, I would suggest doing an out lap. Again, making sure you're not scrubbing the tyres, not putting too much heat into them. Then do another prep lap where you're basically like going around again, keeping the speed below 200k, but kind of, not going too crazy with the tyres. You want to be going kind of fast, but not slidey. And if you can do that, I think that second lap, the tyres will be absolutely perfect for you. So, but obviously it's a risk. But that would be my suggestion for bringing the tyres. Good luck in the racing. I'm not sure if I'll actually do a race video this week because I'm not quite up to speed with where I like to be. And I don't really like this track. So for me, this is one where when I looked on the calendar, I was like, that can be a drop week. Okay, so probably won't be a race video this week. I'm going to try and get a bit ahead with the videos so I'm not late again. So hopefully Monday we'll have the week 4 track guide up for you. Okay, guys, enjoy this week and I will see you on Monday.